Good afternoon, Trevor. Just wanted to create this follow-up video audit. Thanks for sending over the website URL, and I noted your note about the off-page SEO work. So I'll get into that later in the video. So I have reviewed your website, many pages from top to bottom. Familiar with the EV technology space and hybrid EV technology space, but really wanted to learn more exactly what you all did in that space. And, if I can summarize it, you all provide battery management systems and vehicle control units for EV technology powered vehicles. In addition to that, you also service fleet management and also provide consulting in these areas as well. So I wrote down a few notes here, so I'll just start from the top. I should go here to another window. So during the first month, as you said, we usually focus on some of the on-page SEO issues, so on-page and technical. And so as far as issues that are actually wrong with the website, I would say the big one is that there's no sitemap properly installed on the site. So it's best to have a XML sitemap so that your website will be easy to crawl for Google and the other search engines. And the easier you make your website to crawl, the faster any content updates or anything that you do in an effort to improve the website, it'll be more quickly updated within the Google search engine. So recommend that. There's some issues with meta descriptions, but I would say those are lower priority. I would say a higher priority. I'm looking at your title tag. So if you're not familiar with the title tag, it's this little box that just popped up here on my screen. So right now, the title tag for your home page is home-staffle system. So if you're just looking at that, that makes sense. However, your title tags are one of the prominent places where you really want to optimize for your target keyword. And so this is one part where I can use your team's input on what are the top 10 to 15 keywords. But using from what I understood as one of your target product lines, battery management system. So let's just say that was your top keyword. So instead of home, I would have something like this: Staffle systems, pipe symbol or hyphen, battery management systems for electronic vehicles, or EV battery management systems. We can work out the exact phrasing once we decide on the keywords, but that's definitely a place you want to optimize for your keyword. And I would really go to each of your title tags, even your product pages, because someone's probably not typing in your product name, but they may be typing in generic phrase that's related to your product. So I think I'll get into this at the very end of the video, but I definitely think there's some mapping exercises that need to happen before we go in and actually do the on-page optimizations for the website. Okay. Other than the title tag, some other prominent places where you want to optimize for your keywords are your heading tags. So if you're not familiar with heading tags, basically they work the same way as an outline. So maybe when you're back in university, you've written papers, and before you wrote the paper, you used an outline to organize your thoughts and ideas. And at the top of that outline, you had the title of the paper, and then you had your A, B, C, and D, or actually your Roman numerals, and then your A, B, C, and D. And like maybe the Roman numerals were some of the main ideas you wanted to cover. The A, B, and C were maybe some of the main sub ideas that you wanted to cover. And then from there, you added bullet points or numbered list or whatever your style was. But it works the same way with websites. So for websites, you have heading 1 tags, and that goes all the way to heading 6 tags. And I would say the most important for SEO are heading 1s and heading 2s. And you want to make sure that each page has at least one H1. Actually, you should only have one heading 1 tag per page and have at least one heading 2 tag per page. And within these tags, these is really where you should try to, again, incorporate some of your target keywords so that Google and other search engines, when they're crawling your website, they better understand what your site is about, better understand what your content is about, and can categorize your site for the proper searches or results. So that's how you can better gear your website to be positioned to rank well. So I would go through the page. And again, like I said, I think there's some mapping exercises that need to happen. I would go through these pages and just any heading 1 tag, any heading 2 tag, make sure you're using that real estate to optimize for your keywords. Okay. So other than that, one other area of opportunity I saw with the website was the website speed. So I ran this speed test. The tool I use is called webpagetest.org, and it has given the site, some not so great scores. You have a D for first byte time, and then you have an F for basically the way the site is handling browser caching. And so, kind of breaking down these metrics, there are 3 that I really pay attention to. So your first byte time, it's at 0.843 seconds. And honestly, that's not terrible. It's not far off where I like to see it at 0.5 seconds. So just a little bit of optimization should get you there. Next, I look at your first contentful paint. So that's pretty much how long it takes to get the first pixel color or anything above the fold before someone has to scroll. So on average, it takes 2.694 seconds for that to load. Ideally, that would be at 1.5 seconds or lower. So that's definitely an area of improvement. And then your overall load time, which can sometimes be skewed, but right now it's at 17.2 seconds. Ideally, you will want that closer, really no higher than 5 seconds, but if possible, no higher than 3 seconds. And by improving your first byte time and your first contentful paint, that will definitely help with your load time. And without even looking at the back end of your website, some of the common issues might be your website just isn't handling browser caching as best as it could. So that could really slow down the load time. Other than that, we should look at your content delivery network to see, well, first, if there's a CDN set up, and 2, how can we, maybe upgrade to a better CDN? And usually the most common CDN, especially if you're not doing anything complex with your website, would be Cloudflare. So I would look into adding that to your website. And that should help improve your overall website speed. So I give you the technical issues here, but why is this important? So Google, and really the same applies for the other search engines, Google wants to return websites in their search engine results on the first page that are user friendly. And there are many elements that are factored into user friendliness, but one of the most important elements is your website speed. Because I'm sure you've had the experience at some point in your internet browsing experience where you've gone to a slow website and it was so slow it frustrated you, and you went to a competitor's website or you just bounced off the website. So the same is here, and not saying that your site is that slow, but website speed is definitely one of the areas that Google looks at when determining how user-friendly a website is. And this can impact your user engagement metrics like your bounce rate, your average time on site, the average number of pages someone browses while they're on your website, and your conversion rate, which is the most important of those. And those over time, if those are below the standards for that search engine result, that can definitely hurt your ranking. So website speed is usually not a difficult fix, but it's a fix that I would put at the top of my priority list. And I would definitely try to address this month for one, the campaign. Now, moving on to some of the actual content on the website. So I like that you had an applications page. It's pretty much like your case studies page. And I see you have several different case studies. My recommendation to you and your team, Trevor, right now, unless I'm missing something here, they're pretty much just one paragraph. And typically, well-written case studies that actually get results for you, they're going to be at least a page long. So I'm talking at least 1,000 to 1,500 words. And I understand sometimes there can be issues where with NDAs where you can't get very specific on a client's project. However, you can at least follow this framework. So first, start with the problem. So whatever problem that client had, detail that problem, and then to get even deeper, detail what would have been the consequences if that client wasn't able to solve that problem. So that could have been with a more expensive, inefficient solution. Maybe they wouldn't have not been able to, put their project, in production. Whatever would have been the consequences by not solving that problem. And then that's where you then transition into how Staffel Systems, how you stepped in and the problem that you saw, detailed the approach to solving that problem, and detail why you took that approach. And the why is very important because that's going to, someone who's knowledgeable, that's going to give them the impression that you're very experienced with solving these types of problems. And this wasn't the only approach that you had, but you have enough experience, enough know how to know that this is the best approach strategy to solve the problem. And then from there, just detail the solution. And then, what's really important, detail how that solution affected your client. So they were able to successfully move forward with their project. They were able to, reach unforeseen performance metrics. Whatever the results were for that particular implementation, detail the solution and, the results of that solution. And then to add even more to the details of the solution, add what was the human element. So because they were able to solve this problem, they were able to take, increase their market share by X%, or they were able to, grow their team, or, you know, start a new division, whatever the human element to that solution, make sure you include that as well. And if you cover those points, Trevor, you should have, a pretty thorough case study. And, as you can probably assume by now, once you have built out those case studies, then you would actually put those on separate pages. So, what you have here is fine. Maybe just have this snippet, then like a read more that will actually take the site visitor to that main case study page. And that will allow you to, that would allow you to, target mining vehicle, and all electric supercar, or solar electric aircraft. You would have all of these pages that are optimized for this particular project type, this application type, but also allows you to get more thorough. And that can really help with your conversions and getting more people to contact you for a quote. So, and then one last thing, and I think this is specific to your product offering, maybe mention and link to the products that were used for that particular application. And I think that's a great way to link your case studies to the bottom of the funnel, which are your product pages. So just some thoughts there, not necessarily related to technical SEO, but can obviously have a positive impact on your SEO, on your organic traffic, but more importantly, help you get more quote requests as well. So that was the kind of just further develop the case studies. My next thing here were your backlinks. And this is something you mentioned in your message, but I do see this as a big area of opportunity for Staffel. Sometimes this doesn't reload, but luckily this time it did. So I did some Google searches for battery management system, EV, vehicle control unit, EV, just to get an idea on some of the websites that you're going against when it comes to ranking well on Google. So I'm not sure if these are your actual competitors. Perhaps if you could send those over, I can redo this analysis. But from what I've seen from my initial review is that overall, if you look here in this DR column, that stands for domain rating. And that's pretty much a metric that tells you how much authority your website has. And you can see some of the websites that you're going against, we're talking very high ratings. On a scale of 0 to 100, with 100 being the highest, you have an 82, a 62, a 79, a 71, a 12. And here is your website with a domain rating of 7. So to build your domain rating is definitely a long-term process. Link building is a long-term process. But as you continue to build that rating, develop that rating, it will be easier for you to rank for keywords versus someone who doesn't have as high of a rating. So that really all comes from building backlinks from high authority websites that are relevant to the products that you offer. Another column I want you to look at here is do follow. So in total, your website has 12 do follow referring domains. And while that's almost the most out of every page on this list, keep in mind that we're looking at your homepage, which is pretty much all of your backlinks are going to be incorporated in this number. Whereas for some of these other ranking pages, these are specific pages on the website. So with that said, I say one big area of opportunity is building more do follow links, and that's going to have a positive impact on your domain rating and can also help with organic traffic and referral traffic. So, and the first thing I would do, Trevor, is look at low hanging fruit opportunities. So one thing I noticed is that your anchor text profile, if you're, sorry, that's not reloading correctly. But your anchor text profile, basically, if you have a link, what is the text that actually sits in that link? So if I can give you an example here, I don't think I have anything open. Oh, here we go. So in this case, this paragraph, then you have this link here. Sam Davis is the anchor text. And so for any positive or really good SEO campaign, or SEO performance, your brand name and variations of your brand name should make up the majority of your anchor text profile. So I would say anywhere from in the neighborhood of 70 to 80%. When I look at your current anchor text profile, it looks like that number right now is around 40 to 45%. So another area of opportunity there. And one low-hanging fruit way of building up your anchor text profile is a press release campaign where we use your company name, Staffel Systems as the anchor text. But that syndication can go out to at least 30 or 40 websites. So that will really help with your anchor text issues right now. From there, I will look at any directory websites that target the EV market. So those can be discoverable from a few Google searches, but I will build your presence as there as well, and also build listings that go to your website from those directory websites as well. And then lastly, I will look at ways you can get features on industry relevant publications. So this example I just showed, Power Electronics, seems like it's a content publication targeted to, or at least one of their targets is the EV market. So this would be a great place to get a guest feature article. So I would definitely look at opportunities like that. And then if you already have any relationships in the industry with publishers, again, those are your low hanging fruit opportunities that you wouldn't have to start that approach off cold. And I look at these as relationships. So I don't follow the method of just cold outreaching a bunch of folks because your response rate is going to be very low. What I like to do is start the outreach slowly. So maybe finding out who is the publisher or editor for that publication, add them on LinkedIn, maybe share some of their social media content on LinkedIn or Twitter. Give them a shout out, compliment them on their content. But then over time, I would say maybe at least a few weeks, start looking at how you can find a gap in what content they have and produce something that fills in that gap. So if you know that your target audience, your target customers, they always have this issue, but this particular publication doesn't have any articles on that issue. Or there you go. That's a great content topic you can pitch to them. And so that's something that my team and I, we can really help with kind of managing that process so that you can get those high authority, niche relevant placements. Okay. And so moving on to my last point here. And earlier in the video, I mentioned something about mapping. And I think there are two types of mappings that should happen here. First, we need to figure out what are your top 10 to 20 keywords that you want to target with your website, and then map each of those keywords to a page on the website. And so this is going to have two potential outcomes. Number one, that keyword is properly aligned with a page on the site. And then from there, we would just compare that page to maybe the top 3 or 5 ranking pages for that keyword and basically do a gap analysis. So we're pretty much looking at what elements are included on those ranking pages and which of those elements are missing on Staffle's page. So for example, if we find that the top 3 pages that rank for battery management system for hybrid HEVs, if we find that the average word count is 1,500 words, and the word count that's on the map page on Staffo is 500 words, well, guess what? We need to at least be at 1,500 words, but I usually like to go plus 10%. So that would be, in this case, 1,650. And why word content length isn't the only thing we look at. The longer your content, the more opportunities you have to target keyword variations, the more opportunities that you have to really get more into detail about that particular topic and really position yourself as an expert on that topic. So that's why content length is so important. And then let's just say, for whatever reason, maybe it's a product page that's mapped to that particular keyword. Well, that's a indicator that maybe instead of making the product page 1,500 words, which isn't the best practice, maybe we should write a blog article on that particular keyword, and that'll give us the opportunity to get as detailed as possible without hurting conversion rates for that site visitor. Okay, so I would do that mapping between keyword and content that's already available on the website, and then identify content assets that we need to create in order to really position the site to rank well for the keyword. The other type of mapping that needs to happen here, and I just kind of mentioned it, is mapping each of your product pages with specific keywords. So if we go here to products, each of these products, and I would even add your touchscreen offering and your fleet management offering along with your consulting offering, we need to match keywords for each of these pages and just make sure that any other content that we create, it's not, there isn't an overlap, because that's not a good SEO practice. So just mapping each of these product pages for specific keywords. So I'm getting towards the end of the video, but as I've kind of alluded to, I do recommend creating a blog. Again, that can be a great way to go after long tail keywords. And again, this content, assuming that it's insightful, well written, well researched, can really help position Staffo as the expert in the field. Other than that, when I go to your product pages, it's kind of like, okay, I know I want this product, and yeah, I'm going to request a quote. But it's not always that simple. People might be looking at other providers, other vendors. So what I really need to see more so on the product pages are, more explicitly stated benefits for using your product compared to other providers in the market. Even if there's not a direct competitor, really kind of better articulate what makes your product different. I see bits and pieces here, but nothing that just really makes it completely obvious. So I see there's a lot on features, but what are the benefits? Those are really more important than features. And then something else you might want to consider that I know is pretty common in the high tech field in the EV market are white papers. So these can go hand in hand with your case studies, but white papers can be a great content asset that's not top of funnel, more aligned with the mid funnel where people are kind of evaluating their options. But it can be a great way to get someone's email while being over aggressive. And once you have that email, that's the best asset you can have for marketing because you can continue to market and share insights with that email list until they unsubscribe for you. If you're doing your email marketing program right, that's unlikely to happen. So, Trevor, I hope this video has been helpful. It was great reading about your product, definitely something unique. And I do think there is room for SEO and there's an opportunity for SEO to help your business. So thanks for watching. Have a great rest of your afternoon. Take care, and I look forward to your response.